If you've ever felt ignored after showing interest, if you've ever been disrespected, breadcrumbed, or made to feel like you're asking for too much. In dating, this isn't because you're not attractive enough or not interesting enough. It's because somewhere along the way, you were taught to earn respect instead of expect it. And today, I want to show you how to stop being overlooked, undervalued, or violated in dating. Not by changing who you are, but by changing what you tolerate. Respect doesn't begin with how attractive you are, how charming you sound, or how much attention you receive. It begins with how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. Many people believe that if they become more desirable, more interesting, more agreeable, more impressive, respect will naturally follow. But attraction may open a door and still leave you standing outside your own dignity. Self-respect is what decides whether someone gets access to your time, your energy, and your emotional world. When you rely on attraction alone, you hand your power over to other people's reactions. You start measuring your worth by replies, compliments, or effort that comes and goes. One day you feel confident because someone wants you. The next day you feel invisible because they pull back. That emotional instability is not love, and it is not respect. It's dependence. And dependence silently invites disrespect because it tells the other person that your sense of value is fragile and negotiable. Self-respect, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't rise or fall based on who texts back or who loses interest. It's the quiet certainty that your time matters, your feelings matter, and your boundaries matter. Even if that means someone walks away. People who respect themselves don't panic at distance. They don't over-explain their needs. They don't chase clarity from people who offer confusion. They understand that walking away from what feels wrong is not a loss, but an act of loyalty to themselves. This is where many people struggle. They think self-respect means being cold, distant, or arrogant. It doesn't. Self-respect means being warm without being self-abandoning. It means being open without being available to mistreatment. It means knowing the difference between patience and self-betrayal. You can be kind and still say no. You can care deeply and still choose yourself. When you don't respect yourself, you tolerate things you shouldn't. You excuse behavior that hurts you. You shrink your needs to avoid being seen as too much. You wait longer than you should, hoping effort will appear if you just stay quiet and understanding. But every time you do this, you send a message not with words, but with behavior, that your limits are flexible and your needs are optional. People learn very quickly how much they can get away with, and they adjust accordingly. Self-respect changes that dynamic entirely. It's felt immediately. It shows up in how you respond, not in what you say. You don't need to announce your standards. You enforce them by walking away when they're not met. You don't need to demand effort. You stop investing where effort is missing. That calm refusal to accept less than you deserve creates a natural boundary that the right people honor and the wrong people cannot tolerate. Attraction can be intense, exciting, and intoxicating, but it's also temporary. It fluctuates. Respect lasts. Respect grows when someone sees that you won't compromise your values for attention, that you don't lose yourself to be chosen, that you're willing to be alone rather than be diminished. That kind of self-respect is rare, and it's magnetic in a way attraction alone never is. The truth is, people don't respect you more because you want them. They respect you more when they see that you want yourself first. When your life, your peace, and your self-worth don't revolve around their approval, that doesn't make you less loving. It makes your love healthier. It ensures that when you give your heart, you give it freely, not desperately. In dating and in life, respect doesn't arrive when someone finally sees your value. It arrives the moment you stop trying to prove it. Boundaries are often misunderstood. Many people think setting a boundary means giving an ultimatum, making demands, or threatening to leave if someone doesn't behave a certain way. But true boundaries don't come from control or fear, they come from clarity. A boundary is not something you use to change another person, it's something you use to protect yourself. It's a filter that quietly reveals who is capable of meeting you where you are and who is not. An ultimatum says, do this or else. A boundary says, this is what I accept and this is what I don't. There is no drama in that, no pressure. No emotional bargaining, it's simply a decision, and the power of a boundary is not in how loudly you state it, but in how consistently you honor it. The moment you break your own boundary to keep someone comfortable, you teach them that your limits are flexible, and that's when confusion, resentment, and disrespect begin to grow. Healthy boundaries don't push the right people away, they protect them, they create safety, predictability, and trust. When someone genuinely cares about you, your boundaries don't feel like restrictions to them. They feel like guidance. They help that person understand how to treat you, how to show up, and how to stay connected without causing harm. The people who disappear or become defensive when you set a boundary were never aligned with you in the first place. The boundary didn't break the connection, it revealed the truth of it. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they fear rejection. They worry about being seen as difficult, needy, or demanding, so instead they tolerate discomfort in silence. They say yes when they want to say no. They minimize their feelings. They wait for things to improve without ever naming what hurts. But unspoken boundaries don't protect you, they exhaust you, and over time, that exhaustion turns into resentment not only toward the other person, but toward yourself for staying too long. A boundary doesn't require a long explanation. In fact, the more you over-explain, the more you turn it into a negotiation. A clear boundary is simple and calm. It doesn't need justification. You're not asking for permission to feel safe or respected. You're choosing it. And when someone crosses that line, the boundary only matters if there is a response. Not punishment, not anger, just action, distance, reduced access, a shift in how much you invest. This is why boundaries are filters. They allow people to self-select. Some will rise to meet them, others will fall away. And while losing someone can feel painful, staying where your boundaries are constantly ignored is far more damaging. Boundaries save you time, they save you emotional energy, they keep you from trying to build intimacy with someone who lacks the capacity to hold it. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about yourself to stop abandoning your needs. It means you understand that love without limits becomes self-sacrifice, and connection without protection becomes self-erasure. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you. They are doors with locks that you control. Over time, something powerful happens when you honor your boundaries. You begin to trust yourself. You stop guessing your feelings. You stop hoping people will change and start paying attention to who they already are. Your relationships become cleaner, calmer, and more mutual. You spend less time explaining and more time experiencing. In the end, boundaries don't force anyone to treat you better. They simply make it impossible for the wrong people to stay. And that's not loss, that's alignment. The way people treat you is rarely random. It is shaped, reinforced, and maintained by what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you repeatedly excuse. This doesn't mean you are responsible for someone else's bad behavior, but it does mean that your responses teach people what is acceptable in your presence. Over time, those lessons become patterns, and those patterns become the relationship. Every interaction is a form of training. When someone shows up late and you brush it off without acknowledging how it affects you, you teach them that your time is flexible. When they cancel plans at the last minute and you immediately reassure them that it's fine, you teach them that your disappointment doesn't matter. When they cross a line and you stay silent to avoid conflict, you teach them that your boundaries are optional. None of this happens because you are weak or unaware. It happens because you care, but caring without limits quietly conditions people to give you less. Training doesn't happen through words. It happens through behavior. You can say you value respect, consistency, and honesty, but if your actions reward inconsistency, dishonesty, or neglect, those words lose their meaning. People follow the path of least resistance. They repeat what works. If low effort still gets them access to you, attention from you, or emotional labor from you, there is no incentive to change. Not because they are cruel, but because the relationship has taught them they don't need to do more. This is why patterns matter more than promises. Anyone can apologize. Anyone can say they'll do better. But what matters is whether their behavior changes, and just as importantly, whether your response changes when it doesn't. Each time you accept the same behavior after the same apology, you reinforce the pattern. You tell them this is survivable, this is enough. And slowly the standard drops. Many people confuse training with control and feel guilty for adjusting their behavior. They worry that enforcing boundaries is manipulative or harsh. But allowing repeated disrespect is not kindness, it's self-neglect. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's behavior, but you are responsible for deciding what behavior gets continued access to you. That decision shapes everything. When you stop overgiving, something shifts. When you stop chasing, explaining, or rescuing someone from the consequences of their actions, you create space for accountability. Some people rise to it, others resist it, but either way, clarity replaces confusion. You no longer feel stuck wondering where you stand, because the relationship either grows healthier or naturally fades. Training people doesn't mean becoming cold or transactional. It means becoming consistent. It means responding the same way every time your boundary is crossed, not based on mood or hope, but on self-respect. Consistency is what builds credibility. Without it, boundaries are just suggestions. With it, they become reality. This process also reveals something important about you. When you begin to change how you respond, you may feel uncomfortable at first. Guilt may surface, fear of loss may appear. That discomfort is a sign that you're breaking an old pattern, one where you put other people's comfort ahead of your own well-being. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. Over time, the people who truly value you will adjust. They will notice that you don't accept the same treatment anymore, and they will either meet you at that level or step away. Both outcomes are wins. You stop wasting energy trying to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. In the end, people don't treat you better because you demand it. They treat you better because you require it through your actions. When you change what you tolerate, you change the relationship. And when you change the relationship, you change your life. Attention can feel intoxicating, especially in dating. Messages, compliments, late-night conversations, and constant check-ins can create the illusion of closeness. It feels like interest, like desire, like something meaningful is forming, but attention alone does not tell you where something is going. Intention does. And confusing the two is one of the most common reasons people end up feeling misled, disappointed, or emotionally drained. Attention is easy. It requires very little commitment. Someone can give you attention when they're bored, lonely, seeking validation, or wanting comfort without ever planning to build something real with you. Attention lives in the moment. It responds to convenience. It comes and goes depending on mood. Intention, on the other hand, is deliberate. It shows up even when it's inconvenient, it has direction, it answers the question, where is this actually headed? This is why someone can text you every day and still waste your time. They may enjoy your presence, your energy, your emotional support, but enjoyment is not the same as investment. Intention is revealed through consistency, effort, and follow-through. It shows in making plans and keeping them, in clarity rather than ambiguity, in actions that match words over time, not just in moments of excitement or loneliness. Many people stay stuck because they keep interpreting attention as proof of care. They think, if they didn't like me, they wouldn't talk to me this much. But liking someone is not the same as choosing them. Desire is not the same as direction. Someone can want you and still not want a relationship with you. Someone can crave your presence while having no intention of protecting your feelings or building something sustainable. When you focus only on attention, you ignore important signals, you excuse mixed messages, you tolerate inconsistency, you wait for potential to turn into reality, you tell yourself stories about what someone might do instead of observing what they actually do. And in doing so, you postpone your own clarity. You stay emotionally invested in something undefined, hoping attention will eventually transform into commitment. Intention removes confusion. It doesn't leave you guessing where you stand. It doesn't require decoding or overanalyzing. When someone has intention, you feel it in their reliability. You feel it in their willingness to define the connection. You feel it in how they respond when something matters to you. Intention brings emotional safety, not anxiety. One of the hardest but most freeing shifts is learning to value intention over intensity. Intensity can feel thrilling, but it's often unstable. It spikes and crashes. Intention may feel calmer, slower, and less dramatic, but it builds trust. It allows you to relax instead of constantly questioning your worth or replaying conversations in your head. This doesn't mean attention is meaningless. Attention can be a starting point, but it should never be the finish line. The moment you realize that attention without intention keeps you stuck, you stop chasing crumbs and start looking for substance. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, are they showing up in a way that aligns with what I want? Choosing intention also requires self-respect. It means being willing to walk away from something that feels good but leads nowhere. It means trusting that clarity is better than fantasy, even if fantasy is more comfortable in the short term. It means understanding that you deserve not just interest, but direction. In the end, attention may make you feel wanted, but intention makes you feel secure. Attention keeps you hoping. Intention lets you move forward. And once you learn the difference, you stop settling for noise and start choosing meaning. The moment you stop chasing validation is the moment respect starts chasing you.